Okay, I'm begging you. There will be a lot of unpopular opinions in this video, and I request that you please don't cancel me. Please don't be mean. Please be kind. I will be doing something more unusual for today's book recommendation video, which instead of sharing to you guys books I love and adore and would die for, I will be sharing to you books that I found okay. I don't like them. I found them okay. That's it. Or at worst, I actually didn't like them, that they didn't work for me as a reader. And I know that sounds backwards because why would I recommend books that I personally didn't even have a good experience with? But honestly, that's what I find the most interesting because taste and preference get so personal, and I have had many instances that a book that I love is something that another person didn't like, and vice versa. Some examples: on the calculation of volume, my favorite book of all time, Septology. Some people just, they don't resonate with it, they don't like it, they find it so boring, and that's my favorite book of all time, Septology specifically. So taste is so personal, and a book that could make me yawn and just even DNF could be one that changes your life, and I don't want to deny you of that opportunity. And the other reason is we always talk about our favorite books of all time, our 5-star reads, the books that we love and adore and would, again, die for. But what about the 3 stars, the 3.25, 2.5 books that are just okay? That just didn't click, and I think that might actually be a fun conversation we would have as long as you guys stay nice in the comments. And let's be real, some of these books are sacred texts in some corners of the internet. Some of these authors are very beloved, and the only reason I am recommending them to you is because I do think they have merit, that they, to a certain group of people, would be books that could change your lives, and I will not be the one to deter you from that. I want you to discover books that would work for you even if they didn't work for me. So whenever I write my book reviews, whenever I finish a book on Instagram, I try to be as objective as possible and try to write it from the perspective that I, as a reader, am reviewing it. That what I think might not be what you think. That some points that I dislike might be things that you like, and hopefully you discover books that you fall in love with, whether it be books that I love or books that I don't like. So yes, I have around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books that I will be sharing to you guys today. These range from 2.5 to 3.25 stars for me. And again, these are books that I find a lot of merit in. And the thing with reading is sometimes it's also the time that you're reading it. Sometimes you read it at the specific point in your life that just didn't work for you, or depending on the mood that you are, the season you're in. So these books didn't work for me at the time that I read them. But I do urge you guys to give them a try, and hopefully maybe one day I'll reread them and, I don't know, maybe fall in love with one of them. So yes, you've been warned. Please don't cancel me. Please don't unsubscribe. We have 7 books to discuss. Let's get to it. We are starting controversial. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I don't know a single person who didn't love this book. Maybe I know one person who found it also okay, but generally this is a book community darling. Claire Keegan, especially this book, is well loved everywhere I go, every single review I see of this. And I'm pretty sure if I check Goodreads right now, it would probably have like a 4.23 rating. So yes, we're starting very controversial, but this book didn't work for me. It is a quiet little story about a man with a quiet life with his 5 kids, 5 daughters, I believe. And he finds out something about his little community which forces upon a moral crisis onto the protagonist as well as to us. That his small little town, that he knows there are things lying underneath that he didn't really know and is now faced to either confront or run away from. And when I read that blurb and I saw how thick this book is, I knew it was not going to work for me. I knew that I know generally about myself when I see books that are very short and have a clear, like, you know where the story is going. I generally don't like those. I love to be able to chew on my stories. Even if it's short, I want to be able to chew on them or at least make me think. This felt like a Hallmark movie. This felt like it was just too single-minded for me, if that makes sense. It was too simplistic. I feel like there was a lot more complexity Claire Keegan could have explored. And again, there are complex books that are short. Unfortunately, I had a feeling already, and it was validated when I read it that it was going to be a simple story, and there's nothing bad about that. There's nothing bad about that. It's just not for me. And again, I'm gonna be defensive this whole video, but this video is for books that I personally didn't like that I think you might fall in love with, and maybe that's the case. Maybe you're looking for a book that is quiet and beautifully written, and I agree with that. This is so beautifully written and discusses its themes in a very simple manner. And again, simple is not a negative term. I love simple books as well, but the combination of everything that happens in this book is just something that doesn't resonate with me as much. I didn't get to chew on it. I felt like I was reading it. By the end, I was like, that was it. I just think it could have done a lot more, or could have explored a lot more, or made me think a lot more. Unfortunately, I read it in one sitting and it was pretty much a breeze. And I was like, nice. Moving on. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to the next book. Next one, we're gonna stay spicy here. It's gonna be Joan Didion's Play It As It Lays. Give it to me. Give it to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This book is about a woman who is spiraling through her life in California, and it feels very California. I've never been to the US, but it is what I imagine it to be. Joan Didion writes the atmosphere so beautifully and accurately and captures it the way that I expect California to feel like. But more than that, even just the time period that Joan Didion was writing about, it was absolutely breathtaking. And as I'm saying this, it is part of this video, so obviously I didn't really quite like it. This is a book that's written in fragmented chapters of our protagonist's life. And a lot of my favorite books do the same thing. But the thing for me is, beyond just Play It As It Lays, I have read, I think, around 4 to 5 Joan Didion novels. And she is an author that I highly respect. And I still go out of my way to read her books, even though I already know that my reading style does not match her writing style. The best way I was able to describe it, I think I mentioned this to a friend 2 years ago, is reading Joan Didion feels like I'm under harsh overhead lighting. Everything is exposed. It's so precise, it's so sharp, it's so cold. And I think that is what Joan Didion is known for. There is an emotional detachment that I think is so uniquely seen in her writing. And the moment you read her book, you know it's by her. And I can say that because I've read 4 to 5 of her books. But unfortunately, it's not the kind of reading style that I like. It's the emotional detachment that feels void of it sometimes. It's the kind of emotional detachment that just doesn't work for me as a reader, because I value weight and emotion when I'm reading books. And don't get me wrong, Joan Didion's writing also has weight to it. It's just not done in the way that I like to read it. I think my favorite book from her would be The Year of Magical Thinking. I believe I gave that at least a 4-star. And it is a book about grief. And it was a very fascinating reading experience to see a writer who writes with clinical sharpness to be able to write about something that's so emotionally heavy, such as grief. And I think it was beautiful seeing it that. But at least in this case, Play It As It Lays, I feel like is my least favorite from the books I've read from her. And I do prefer her non-fiction writing more than her fiction writing, but it is, again, interesting to still read. I feel like it's beautiful to see a writer such as Joan Didion, who is known for non-fiction, and see what she can do with fiction as well. So yes, Joan Didion's writing is just too cold and just too precise and detached for my personal liking, but if that's something that intrigues you, if you want something that's cold, a book about alienation, that captures a very specific time and place very beautifully, you should give this book a try. Next, we have The Comfort of Strangers by Ian McEwan. This is my first ever Ian McEwan. I have seen Atonement, a movie that I love and adore, but I've never read it because I heard it was dense. And dense books are usually not my go-to preference when it comes to reading. I do read them once in a while, and I've loved some of them, but at least in Ian McEwan's case, I wanted to get a taste of his writing. And The Comfort of Strangers really did give me that. His writing is beautiful. The description that he uses is the way he writes is very intriguing, especially in the book that kind of positions itself as a thriller. The way he builds tension and intrigue is so intriguing. It's so intriguing. Duh. Anyway, This book is about a couple who are going on I believe a honeymoon trip or just a couple trip in Venice, and they encounter and meet the stranger, and it turns creepy and weird very fast, very quickly. And it feels like as you're turning each page, you're turning a corner in Venice, and the city itself feels alive while you're reading this book. And it feels like there's always a build-up of tension for every page that you turn and for every corner that you go. But personally, the tension didn't really pay off for me, but it was still so worth it to see the style of writing that Ian McEwan does. It is both beautiful to me, but not, and as I said, Ian McEwan writes Dread so beautifully. This book felt claustrophobic. And again, it's also short. Most of these books are short. If I'm gonna make you guys read a book I didn't like, I'm not gonna make you waste 500 pages for it. So you're welcome. But anyway, I personally found that the dread for this didn't really pay off for me. But if you're looking for like a thriller, horror-esque book that doesn't really have a lot of gore, isn't really scary per se, but just very tense, you should check this out. It gets disturbing. It gets disturbing, but it kind of just, I'm trying to explain it without spoiling this just because it's more so a thriller as well. Just not for me. I'd still like to try some other Ian McEwan books though, so. Next one, I was really excited to read this when I was in Scandinavia, but unfortunately I didn't really like it. This is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. I don't really have much to say. It's about a kid and a grandma who are spending time on an island off the coast of Finland and living their lives there. There's a lot of small moments, small pieces of beauty and hope and discussions of like deeper topics that is positioned on a more lighter note. And I don't really have much to say about this other than I did find it quite boring. There were moments of intrigue, not intrigue, but there are pockets of warmth that I found in this book, but ultimately I just didn't really care for it. I didn't find myself invested in the story. I didn't care that much, which is very unfortunate because I was really looking forward to reading this since I was in Scandinavia and this was set in Finland, which is just right across the little sea there. I wanted to love this. I wanted to love this, and I was there during summer and I wanted this to be like my summer read, but unfortunately it didn't work too well for me. But if you're looking for like a quiet book where nothing really happens, you should check this out. I also love those types of books. This is just not the type of quiet and nothing really happens that worked for me. But if you're looking for a summer book, maybe for next year, at least read it during a time where it would enhance your reading experience, then you should give it a try. I know that this is a beloved book, especially when it comes to the summer period where people are looking for books to read during that season. So maybe it would help if you guys actually have a proper summer. I'm from the tropics, so year-long it's summer. It's not really something special to me. Yeah, that is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. Next, we have A Headache. Chinatown by Tuan. This one is a Vietnamese book. Honestly, if I'm being honest here, I don't remember much about this book. I did remember feeling like I missed out on so much. I felt, while I was reading this, I felt like there was so much brilliance that I just couldn't keep up with, and I was just all over the place. And I just felt lost. I wanted to love this so bad. I loved the title. I was born in Chinatown. I mean, I'm from Chinatown in Manila. And I wanted to see that, to read a Southeast Asian book. Anyway, even I'm getting lost just talking about this book, but so anyway, this is about a Vietnamese woman stuck in a stalled metro in Paris, and throughout that stall of the metro and just that whole train ride, we travel through Paris, Hanoi, Leningrad, from her being a kid to where she is now, her past relationships, her histories, why she moved, and everything. We go through so many things in that one train ride in the lens of memory. And this gives one long stream of consciousness across time and place through the lens of memory again. And I just got lost. I was just constantly lost, and kept trying to keep up, and I actually finished this book. I usually DNF books when I cannot anymore, but I really wanted to see if it will click at one point, but it didn't click for me. I just felt lost. I felt so disoriented trying to read this. And don't get me wrong, it is ambitious. It is highly, highly experimental, and that's what happens when you read experimental books. Some of them work for you, some of them don't work. And I really hope it works for you. Stream of consciousness is a style of writing that I love when it works, especially, great example, Swan's Way by Marcel Proust. Love and adore it. It took me a while to get into it, a few dozen pages, but the moment I got going, I was going. And then we have To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, which I recently finished, and I also had a bit of a struggle trying to keep up, but those are nothing compared to this. This really, I was struggling. So if you love experimental fiction, you should really give this a try. The way it explores memory and how non-linear it is and how disorienting it can be when everything is just happening in your head. I feel like that captures it really well. I just couldn't keep up. That's a skill issue. That's a skill issue. That's me, not you, Tuan. We're down to our last two. Another one that I feel bad for including because I love his other book. This one is Death at Intervals by Jose Saramago. I love Blindness. I read Blindness by him. It was a dense piece of, I don't know what genre I would call it, sci-fi kind of, about everyone going blind. And I adore it. The moral questions he explores, the style of writing. I usually don't like dense books, but that worked for me so well. This one, unfortunately, I never got going. I followed the whole book. I understood everything, but it was a chore, a bit of a chore for me to read. This is Death at Intervals, where essentially, basically, people stop dying. And you think that's a very like, oh, nice. Probably a first concern would be overpopulation. There's so many layers that I would never have thought of that Jose Saramago is able to explore beautifully, and very makes you like intrigued and interested. Like, huh, I never thought of that. Never thought of that. Blah, 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 blah. Great. But the thing is, the writing style and how dense it is, this time around didn't work for me. I felt like I spent 2 weeks reading this. I spent like a week, but it was a chore to go through, but it was also worth it. So you would already guess this is on the higher end of the 2.5 to 3.25 scale, but I still look at this book and I feel tired. I feel tired. But I think among all of these books, this is the one that comes closest to me. Just like, I feel like if I reread it, I would fall in love with it if I read it at the right time or right headspace. I might have been very busy with work when I was reading this, and I was tired. You know, I was just tired. But among all of these books, I feel like this is the one that I urge you guys to give a try the most. Anyway, that is Death at Intervals by Saramago. And last but not the least, is probably the most recent book in this whole video, will be Small Boat by Vincent Delacroix. And it's quite poetic that this is the last book, because same as Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, it's also the type of book where I knew right away it was not going to be for me. I knew right away, but I still wanted to give it a try. I love the International Booker, and it is of a very important topic. It is based off of an actual tragedy that happened in the English Channel, where a good number of migrants passed away. And it is a very important story, don't get me wrong, but I also want more complexity and richness from it. Because again, it's short, it's urgent, and it's based off of a real tragedy, but it felt too single-minded, and it was far simpler than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be asking us thornier questions, but it felt like I was reading this book and I was just giving myself a pat in the back, because I'm like, yes, that's wrong, that's right, oh no, why is she thinking this? I felt like I've had richer conversations with my friends about politics and real life issues than what this book was able to explore, which is very unfortunate. So yes, I do consider this quite one note. The pacing of the book also was not my favorite. I finished it quite fast, it's a short book, but I was just scratching my head the whole time I was reading it. I was like, yes, I get it. We're putting a woman to kind of signify the bystander effect. But yeah, no matter how many ways I turn it, it just didn't work for me. But it is, again, an important book of an urgent topic that even outside of the real tragedy it is based off of, just the way we view immigrants, the way we view people who are seeking asylum, the way immigrants are being treated around the world. My God, just to turn on the news, you would see this basically happening in real life. It is a very important book, and I urge you guys to give it a try. I do think this could have been explored in a much more richer lens, asking thornier, more difficult questions. But unfortunately, it didn't work for me, and I hope it works for you. There you have it, 7 books that I personally didn't like, but I really, really hope that you guys love, or at least find one of these books that you fall in love with. And this was actually quite fun to film because, again, I'm a busy man, so I don't really have talking points. I kind of winged this video, and it was very interesting for me talking about books I didn't like, but also telling you guys why I think it could still be a good book for you. So if I was rambling a bit too much and I was being defensive, I apologize. And I really just wanted to make this video to, not to trash these videos, but to also to find them a home with people who might fall in love with them. I feel like we always go, I feel sometimes within the book community, we always go for extremes, books we very, very much love or books we really, really hate, that there's no middle ground. And this is my middle ground. And just because I found it okay, doesn't mean I don't hope that some of you would really fall in love with these books. And you never know, sometimes the best recommendations come from disagreements. So there you have it. If you reached the end of this video, have you read any of these? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you not trust me anymore? And do you have a book that you personally didn't like, but you hope people would still give it a try? I'm intrigued. Maybe I'll take a recommendation off of you guys. But there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do, and I'll see you back at a usual spot.